Lally ho, friends. I am Wolfkins. I am the future DM of Kupo Quest, and I have another player interview for you today. Would you like to introduce yourself, Ace?
No.
Okay, there we go. So,
No.
do you want to just stop,
my
or?
No. My name is Ace. Ace, whatever you want. I don't care. ACE, the big A, Ace, everyone's non-binary faith, whatever you so choose.
I like the big A, man. I like that one. That sounds great. The big A. Reminds me of like New
Yeah.
York, though, like the Big Apple or something.
Yeah, that was my nickname when I was the vice president of the GSA in my school.
Okay.
So a lot of people, so that was like my nickname because we all got dorky little T-shirts. As you do as you're a queer youth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they gave me the big A because I actually never went by my name because, ironically enough, when I was younger, there was already an Ace in our class.
Really?
Or except his nickname was Ace. So I went by my middle name, which is Matt, and or Matthew. But my middle name is Matt. But nowadays I go by Ace unless I'm applying for a job. Then I put Matt.
Yeah. I actually go by my middle name unless I'm like applying for a job, and then I put my first name because everybody just expects it, you know? And it gets annoying because people are like, "What's your real name?" I'm like, "My middle name's still my real name." Like, if I wanted you to call me something else, I would have told you a different name. So just, yeah. I get it. I get the struggle there. So Ace, so how are you doing? Thank you for agreeing to do this. It's been great. I just got done talking to Psychic Gamer a minute ago. It was fun. I mean, we're just kind of chatting and getting to know each other. But yeah, thanks for agreeing to do this and for agreeing to play in the game in the first place.
I love Final Fantasy 14 and I love D&D, so I am very VV excited.
Yeah, I'm excited / incredibly nervous. So
also, ignore my air conditioner in the background. It is blistering in my home right now.
It's all good. I'm actually kind of burning up down here. I'm usually cold down here too, but I'm for some reason, probably because I've been on camera for the past 90 minutes. But so,
I mean, yeah, that's hella fair.
Final Fantasy 14, huh? So, do you have any other experience with Final Fantasy, or is it mainly 14, right?
I played the game that like showcased a more modern world of Final Fantasy. I don't remember which one it is. It's with the boys who look like they're in a K-pop band.
That was 15. Yep.
Yeah. And I remember really liking that game, but the playstyle never stuck with me because it's a lot of throwing around your character.
Yeah.
Which I actually found out apparently is more of a staple in the modern Final Fantasy. I did not know that. I assumed it was going to be turn-based combat like the old 8-bit games. I've never played. Don't at me. But it was a lot of just jumping around, and as someone who has I'm very vocal about how a lot of games aren't accessible for people with perception issues like I am. That's one of the reasons why I really like D&D, but I got into Final Fantasy 14 because it's a very singular game. It's very much MMO where you just hit things over and over again. And even now, trying to get into raiding, raiding follows raids, cut out all my stuttering. Raids, they follow like a set timing. Like everything is one by one. There are steps to it, so it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I like the game. It's one of the few games that have like ample accessibility for people. I'm not going to get into all the things wrong with me, but it has ample accessibility for a lot of people.
And that's good, I think. And I never really thought about it from 15's perspective, but I can see that. And just me, myself, I didn't really care for that kind of play style either. 15 is very, very action heavy, very jump, like you said, warping around, because the warp strike plays a huge part in that. And I do much prefer like the play style of 14. I got to ask you, what do you play in 14?
Oh, I'm only a white mage main.
White mage. Okay.
I tried so many other classes. I don't have any patience, and I have a job that pays well, so I just paid to get the classes I want to try up to 80, and I tried them. I don't like playing tanks.
Oh, I can't.
DPS is fun, but you guys do a lot of moving around that makes things a bit harder for me, so I can't do it. I tried Dancer, and Dancer is so easy, but it's so boring. To me, if Dancer is your gig, a good Dancer can really change the game for a team. Like, honestly. But I started with White Mage because I don't know why. I had this big obsession with playing healers in games, like even in D&D. For whatever reason, I talked to my therapist, and they read me for filth, telling me it probably has to do with how I'm always fixing things. And I said, "Whoa, Dr. Lee, relax."
I mean, people joke about it, but sometimes I use D&D for a little bit of cheap therapy. Most of my characters have just a little bit of something I'm trying to work through usually. So now, are you?
Yeah, D&D.
You're not playing a healer in our game, though.
I am not, because I've been dying to play a wizard. I've played my last couple of characters. My last main character before I had to leave parties was I played a cleric who was a money-hungry, lovable bastard. Then I played a sorcerer who stayed away from people because he couldn't control his powers. And now I'm playing a very shy nerd who has trauma.
Yeah, so just tell us a little bit about your character. No spoilers, backstory, just a little bit about what you're going to be playing.
Izzy is a Viera Wizard, and basically, how could I put, in the nicest way possible, he's a tryhard. In the nicest way possible. Yep. He is a tryhard. He is trying his best to become the best wizard he can possibly be, and this is very new for him. No spoilers, but this is his first time being out on his own, and he's just trying to figure things out. Okay, a little bit of a spoiler. I'm excited because whatever our first combat is going to be, that's going to be the first fight he's ever been in ever. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
I think it's going to be fun. So I was talking with Psychic previously, and I was just telling him that I've been very, very pleased and impressed with the backstories and everything I've been getting from you all, the players, because there's some really creative people on the team. Got a lot of good stuff to work with, and you did exactly what I asked you to. You gave me a deep, nice background with some open-ended stuff that I could play around with, and you even gave me some hooks that I could take in there, and I'm really excited to kind of explore more of your character as we go through too, and I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be very interesting as we get into some of this stuff. So very excited.
I try my best when making a character. Okay, so if you care, my order with making a character is I have 1,000,001 concepts at all time. I'm just going to spoil this to you're the DM. Maybe the other players will see this. I really don't care if I like my characters to be a surprise, but I don't care if the other players know. The original version of this character. Well, okay, so I had two concepts when you first pointed this out to me. I was either going to play a creepy druid, because I really love Circle of Spores.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to play, like... but I also like characters who are, like, cute in a weird way. So I was going to play, like, I was going to play basically, like, I want to play at some point, or here, or I wanted to play for this, some sort of an undead bug boy. But I realized as you were saying, hey guys, I'm creating the races right now, and here's what I have. I was like, okay, I'm not going to make his life harder. Let me just choose one that we already have.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to play a human wizard. I had an idea for a human wizard who was basically a badass magical gunslinger where his gun was his focus, and basically he protected what's the word? Discarded people in the world in their little desert commune. And he would be called the Wizard King, and he would be called the Wizard King of the Dunes.
Oh.
But as you gave us more of the plot, I was just like, okay, as much as I would love to play a competent, like, badass, if I have to be a competent badass who's level 1, it is going to bother me to no heck.
Yeah, that's always the problem. That's always the problem with making characters when you start.
So so it started out as that, but then as I kind of shifted him, I said, okay, well, what do I want to show in this campaign? When I play a campaign, especially ones that are going to be streamed, I was a part of a stream before, but because of just like differences in how they wanted to run a game versus my playstyle after playing with them for a couple of years, it kind of just didn't work out.
Okay.
But when I play things that are going to be on stream, one of the big things is I ask myself, what do I want to do with this character that I want people to see? Number one is always I want people to be able to see a black D&D character.
Of course.
Because I am black. I want people to be able to see a queer black D&D character. That works for me. And third, when it came to this character, I was like, I want to be able to say some of the most traumatic shit with a bit of an softer edge to it, so no one realizes how traumatic it is until later when things start to make sense.
Yeah.
And that's when the idea for my character came through. Again, without spoilers. I know I'm spoiling a lot more than I said I would, but
but not in so many words. But for me, I'm like, I can see what you did. Like playing back in my head what you've written and what you provided, I'm like, I can see, yes, and I see the threads of what you're hoping to accomplish. And I think to be honest, I feel like we've worked really well so far with the back and forth about creating this and making it fit into the world. And I'm really excited to develop this character. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. I'm really excited to see where they go and where this journey takes them and how it develops with the other players and with the world itself.
Yeah. So. But with this concept, it went to, okay, I'm going to play and how that, when realizing, I had to realize what traumatic with a soft touch was. I was like, oh, it's shy. It's shyness. It's quietness. It's reservedness. So then I started to get a personality, and I was like, okay, what can I do for a wizard that has a reserved personality? Okay, I'm going to give him something that when people see his excitement, they're surprised. Mm-hmm. So I made him a huge nerd.
Yeah.
And that's when, in my head, I started to go through what his backstory could possibly be. Okay, why is he so shy? Why is he so withdrawn? Why is he such a nerd? And I think I answered those questions pretty well in the backstory personally. Definitely. But basically I started with a concept, then a personality, and then the rest was just me writing a backstory. I think I told you I had to delete the first backstory because this is way too convoluted. No, thank you. Well, and then I just... Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I wouldn't say what you provided was convoluted, but I will say it was in depth, it was detailed, and it was a great bit of world building. Because I'm taking a lot of what you wrote in your backstory to actually help flesh out one of the cities in the campaign. So it was...
That's A1?
Say what now?
I said that is A1.
Oh, yeah. So, but I didn't mean to cut you off. Continue what you were going to say.
That's no problem. But, basically, well, I forgot what I was going to say. It's fine. Sorry. What I was going to say is, you might not believe me, but what I sent you is actually the cut down version of what his backstory originally was. Really? I cut down a lot of things and I simplified it a lot more. Because my biggest problem is when I make... So I'm going to tell people this. When I get into something, I really get into it. So a lot of people, when I play with them, they'll notice how a lot of the times my characters are very memorable because I'm not scared to take the stage and jump into things.
That's so good. With especially that, for a stream.
yeah. With that, it kind of... So I'll be honest, I have accidental main character syndrome. And when I say accidental, I mean a lot of the time I will jump... When I jump into scenes, I get so into it that a lot of the time people will have to ask me to hey, could you just dial it back a bit? I know you're excited. And that's why I like critique like that. So a lot of the times I have to... nowadays, as I'm more adult when I play D&D, I have to look over my backstory and I have to say, okay, this is not the main character of your book. This is a person in a collaborative game. So I had to cut out a lot, and essentially I was like, wait, this doesn't have to be some big thing. He's not the main character of a book. So I just slapped some of this shit out, and I made it just way more simple and fun and more palpable, because a convoluted backstory is... I'm sorry. Okay, so a tip for those people who have been told their backstories are too convoluted or complicated, I have an easy rule or an easy mantra to go in your head. It can be simple. I promise you, it will not be boring if your backstory is simple. A lot of people like to shit on Fighter from Fighter City, but guess what? Fighter from Fighter City is a good character to have when things get serious, because he isn't going to lose much from the serious moment, so he can be a good character to like calm things down and level out. Like we don't. Not everyone has to be a rogue who came from Shadow Vale and they have to fight alley bears after their parents threw them into an alley.
Right.
It's okay to just have a simple. It's okay to have a simpler backstory, I will say, because even though my backstory is still dynamic as hell, but it's way more simple than it was going to be originally.
Well, and then just the nature of tabletop games in general is, your backstory is literally just a starting point. The story of your character starts the second you hit that game, and I mean, I'm with you. I make like 100 characters. My D&D Beyond page is ridiculously long of just characters I'll never play.
I don't have. I can't afford a monthly membership, so I put them all in my phone.
Gotcha. Yeah, I do the monthly mainly because I DM so much, so I needed it anyway. But then once I signed up for it, I'm like, make. But you're right. It's you don't need a very convoluted backstory because most of what the character you have in your head isn't always the character that you sit down and end up playing. Like I've developed characters, I'm like, okay, I'm going to play it like this. And then I get 2 sessions in and I'm like, I'm playing it totally different. I like how I'm playing it better. It fits better with the group dynamic that we have. And, if you have a DM that's willing to work with you, even those simple backstories can make for meaningful stories down the road. The thing that I don't like is when the backstory is so convoluted and so everything's tied up, and then your DM looks at it as like, I have nothing to work with here because you wrote me a book.
Yep.
And I said the same thing to Psychic. It's like I need hooks.
A lot of people should just be writers. Like honestly, a lot of people who play D&D should just be writers. But like, just so everyone knows, all of these. You can't see it, but all these are notes on my phone of all my characters and their concepts.
Wow.
Just notes. It just keeps going down. You might have to lower the brightness. Actually, don't lower the brightness because I have some grocery lists on here. But like, the point is, as long as you, it doesn't matter how long it takes for you to write the backstory or even just flesh it out or even take some stuff out. It is okay for it to be simple, and that is a lesson I had to learn the hard way after a DM looked at my backstory and said, I'm not reading all of this.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? That's fair. That's valid. You know what? I shouldn't have made you read this thesis paper.
Yeah. Well, it's to your point. It's hard though, because once you sit down and you start doing that character, these ideas just start flowing, and this could have happened and this could have happened, or why did this happen? And then you end up doing your own mini world building as you're developing out your connections to your family, your history, your backstory, and before you know it, if you're not careful, that can get really, really away from you. And I've had that problem. I've had characters that I've thought maybe I should just turn this into a short story instead of trying to make this a D&D character.
Listen, the moment I had to go back, I think I messaged you about this. I said, I don't know what to do with this character because I had so much for them. And like the point that made me had to step back was when I was writing something about like a trip he went on into like a forest that traumatized him or something. I was like, okay, this has nothing to do with the story. At this point, I'm just writing headcanon. I'm writing fan fiction at this point about this character.
And that stuff can still be there. You can just, maybe in the course of the campaign, you're like, this reminds me of a time, and you can drop it in there. But stuff like that.
Thank you for bringing that up. Making memories out of ideas that I'm not going to use for the backstory is my favorite thing in the world. I love just turning ideas that I'm not going to use into memories. Don't tell the other players this, but Izzy's favorite book. Right? Yeah, sure. But Izzy's favorite book is literally about the character he was based off of. The Wizard King of the Dunes. I made that character into his favorite book, basically, because I was just like, I'm not gonna play this character because I don't play characters twice. I refuse. I actively refuse.
Yeah. I like playing new characters too instead of replaying characters, and unless it was a character I really, really liked and the campaign got cut short, and then I'm like, well, I'm not done with this character, but that still feels like playing it once.
I was going to play my one-armed monk that only got played for like 5 sessions, but then someone was just like, I'm playing a monk. I was like, well, wizard it is.
Yeah, we had some people call those really fast. Like, once we got everybody in, they're like, I'm playing this. It's like, okay, wow, you came into this prepared. Which was good for me, though. Like, I like to see the excitement from people. I was worried no one would want to do this, and I feel like we've had some pretty good response, and I'm just feel grateful that you all wanted to play. Mm-hmm. So I'm just excited about that.
I'm going to tell you right now, the reaction that the audience has to any stuff that comes up, any drama, that's going to be my reaction. I care more about these other characters than I care about mine. Yeah. I'm just going to tell you right now, the moment their backstory comes in, I'm going to be mouth agape at the drama.
Yeah, that's my favorite part too. And that's what I like about DMing, is I get to know those secrets, and then I get to like watch as I see things come out. And it's always fun when you watch the player as they realize something from their backstory is about to happen, and you're like, yep. And there's like that moment where you and the player kind of lock eyes, and you're like, it's time. I love that. That's one of my favorite things about DMing. So, oh man. So how long have you been playing D&D? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna talk about my anime playlist, because I have 5 theme songs for this campaign already, and I don't even know what the characters look like. I have 5 openings in my head for this campaign, and I only know what my character looks. Yeah, exactly. Also, for those of you who are interested, before I talk about my D&D journey, because that's long. The song I would best used to represent my character is what I've been listening to all day. It's sad I don't know it already. I'm sorry, I just need to talk about this with you specifically. Everyone else can watch, I guess. But Are You Satisfied by Marina and the Diamonds is so perfect for Izzy.
Okay.
That won't mean anything to some people, but DM, feel free to listen to it and you'll see what I mean.
Okay, I'll take a listen. Yeah, because I'm not familiar with it, but I'll take a listen when we get done here.
Marina and the Diamonds, basically, from what I understand, I've only heard about 3 or 4 songs from her, but she sings a lot of music about how sad she is, and I think I relate to that only because it takes me back to when I was younger and I was really sad. Speaking of, I started playing D&D when I was really sad.
It's that free therapy, man. That's what we were talking about.
18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. I'm 24, so I've been playing D&D for 8 years now.
Okay. You've actually got a couple years on me then. Yeah. Did you start with 4th edition? Or?
Everyone says that. No, I started playing D&D when I was 16, and I actually started with Pathfinder.
Okay.
Which is, for those of you who don't know, Pathfinder is hard mode for D&D.
And for people who really like their math.
Yeah, that shit was not for a young autistic. Was not for a young autistic 16-year-old who was having depressive episodes. Let me tell you, that shit was difficult. I had to have people like make my character sheet for me because I just did not understand it. Luckily, by the time I was 18, I did understand it. But I actually moved to 5e when I turned 17 and a half or 18. I remember very specifically, it was a campaign my friend was doing, where it was basically, imagine Final Fantasy, but a war drama. It was basically like that.
So Final Fantasy 16 is what that looks like. So
I'm going to assume that you're right, but
a little bit of 12 too.
Basically, I played a Bard of Eloquence, and what really got me was how easy it was for me to make my character sheet. Like I understood it immediately. I just had to read up a bit.
Yeah.
And I played a Bard of Eloquence bard named I don't remember his name, but this was my first black character that I ever played, which I know seems surprising. Because I think I've talked to you about this. I remember you were talking to me about how like important representation was to you, and I went on like an entire rant about it.
Yeah.
I'm still embarrassed about it, but
no need to be embarrassed. That was a good conversation.
Yeah, but when I tell people that my first black character I played was like through 2 years, sorry, I'm bad at math, after playing D&D, a lot of people are surprised. And that was actually the character that caused the most controversy, because I didn't realize my friends were racist.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was really nice to be told by a friend I've known for years, the first person I came out to say I'm hard pressed to play a black character. And it's just like, sir, I'm literally black. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, what was the I can't even fathom how someone would even approach that conversation.
The problem for him was apparently he said something about how it was making it harder for him to write stuff because I wanted to play a second character. So in this campaign,
Okay.
everyone had a second character at least because they just kept wanting to add. One person actually played twin brothers, which was really funny.
Okay.
But I wanted to play a character. This was my first cleric I was going to play, who had like max like HP, max AC, and his big thing was how he could take a hit, but he had so little attack that he was useless for anything other than healing.
Sure.
So he would basically stand in the front, turn around, see the wizard needs to be able to be like, ugh, and like book it over there without being able to get hit. But when I told him that, he was just like, I mean, but does he have to be black? I need to have a reason for there to be a black elf. I was just like, people are brown because they're just closer to the equator, right?
This is like the whole Lord of the Rings thing all over. Well, I guess this happened first. But I mean, with all of the controversy with people getting mad about Rings of Power, because...
Listen.
What? I just don't get it. I don't get it. It makes no sense. Just move on with your lives, people.
I was going to say something that was going to get into a much deeper discussion, so we're going to skip that. I'm going to save that for when I talk to my boyfriend. But
I'm not trying to get political, but I'm just saying I don't think that makes any sense. A black elf. There can be a black elf. It's not a big deal.
The worst part about it is race isn't even a political thing. It's just in existence. Yeah. And that's why it frustrated me so much when he said that to me. Yeah. Because I was just like, first of all, it hurts even more when it's your friend. Some people don't understand the hurt you feel, which is why a lot of people will tell you that you're just looking too deeply into it.
Yeah.
But for someone you trust, for you to find out that they have active racist views is some of the most heartbreaking shit in the world. And that's one of the reasons why I had to leave the group, I believe, like 4 or 5 years later. We had gotten to quite a few campaigns, but I couldn't bring myself to leave because I was like, but they're my friends and I don't want to hurt their feelings. But then I realized how much of a toll it was taking on me because they were the reasons I had to like start therapy again.
Yeah.
And I remember I was talking to my mom about it because she was curious about why I was starting therapy. I was like, yeah, my friends just don't have me feeling well. She's like, so they're still your friends, but they're the reasons you have to do therapy.
Yeah.
I was like, well.
Yeah. And
well, got me there, sis.
It's one of those things. It's the comfort of people you've known. I think we've all found ourselves in some kind of toxic relationship before where it's like, it almost takes somebody else, like you said, like your mom, to point out, like, wait, why am I letting this person affect me so much in my life? Like, but it's hard.
I had to. Yeah, so basically I had to just tell the one person who was like the leader of the group. I was like, hey, I don't feel safe as a queer POC here. Mm-hmm. So I'm done. You can tell them whatever you want. And none of them messaged me after I left, which is a lot easier of a break than a lot of other people get.
Yeah.
So I was happy to take it. One person, the other black person in the group, actually did message me a couple months later, much happier in a different D&D group.
Mm-hmm.
He messaged me saying, hey, the groups can be annoying to me too. I hope you find whatever you're trying to find. And I was happy to hear that from him. It's really nice to bond with other POCs when they feel the same thing. But it was just a mess, and I'm very happy. I've actually been really lucky. I found groups that have mostly been cool with these types of conversations. They've been easy to get corrected. Wait. That's not true. One of my groups was not, but I won't get into that.
Well, I'm hoping this group will prove to be. So I think our session 0, we talked a little bit about some of that stuff in session 0, I think.
I could not remember.
Yeah, that was a long session 0, I think. But I mean, from like you said, I was looking for people. I was trying, representation was important to me, but also tolerance. Like I was very much trying to root out people.
I remember how disappointed you were that you couldn't find a girl to play with us.
Well, I know. Okay. I was just like, okay. I just looked at it. I was like, it's just a bunch of guys. I wanted representation. I did want a female on the stream.
Do you remember?
But
when you said that made me think of, that meme of the guy leaving and then he puts his hand back in the door?
Yeah, I think so.
I feel that's what I imagined happened when you were just like, what are your pronouns? And I said he, and you were about to leave, and I said she, they, and you held your hand back.
Well, it wasn't like that. Okay. I wasn't using that to root people out. Like that wasn't what I was doing. When I had our 5 core,
definitely.
I was like, okay, I could do 6 people. I had at that point, I was like, okay, I've got 5 core. 4 of them are strict he him, and then you of course were non-binary, and I was like, okay, if I could just get like a she her, like just for that 6th slot. And I reached out to a couple, but either times didn't work, and I was like, I've got a good group of players. I'm not going to hold the game up for that. But I did. I was like, I wanted, I like those different perspectives. And to be perfectly honest, all of my home games are pretty well balanced. I'm just so used to DMing with women at the table. It's just weird to me that there's not, because I've been playing with some of my friends, and it's like usually about half men, half women. And I'm just, it's weird. I'm like, oh my God, what's up with all this?
One thing they don't tell you in D&D is like everyone tries to make it seem like it's a boys club, but like women are some of the most chaotic players I've ever played with.
I know,
and I love it so much.
And that was one of the reasons I wanted.
When I say chaotic, I mean chaotic in the when I say chaotic, I mean chaotic in the best way possible.
Oh yeah, I know.
My best friend played in my group. My all black D&D group. It's only my boyfriend, my other friend Bear, and 3 other femme presenting people who use she her pronouns. And when I tell you those 3 are some of the most brutal players I have ever met, which is so funny because 2 of them are newer. My best friend is one of them, and one of them has not been playing for a very long. And I love how easily they picked it up, and how the 3 of them are easily the most powerful members of the team.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun. Like, playing with women is just A1. Love it. Highly recommend it.
And that's why I was, I was just looking, because, again, we're doing a stream, and I was trying to get, representation as much as I could. And I reached out to some. One was interested, but I think they were from Europe, so the time just did not work. And then some weren't interested, which is totally fine. I mean, some just weren't interested. Some weren't interested in the stream. And I was like, okay, I've got my core players. I think it's good. I am open to guest spots, or, if something happens and we actually
you should have your daughter be a guest.
Well, she's a little young, but otherwise I would totally get my wife if she would do it, but she doesn't like D&D. So she won't do it. My daughter's a little young to understand it. Otherwise, she would totally be one of the players. She would have been like player number 1. I'd be like, "You're playing," and she'd be like, "I don't want to." I'm like, "I don't care. I pay for your food."
If she doesn't like D&D, you should definitely get her into Powered by the Apocalypse. It's like D&D, but it's more about feelings.
Oh, okay.
Powered by the Apocalypse is A1. I love it so much.
I'll have to look into that. I think it's just she's not hit the right group. Because I did do one shot with her, and she really liked it, but then one of the people ended up moving away, and I'm like, well, there goes that.
Sometimes you're just a one-shot player, and that's all right.
And that's okay, too. That's fine, too.
I remember my youngest brother. I remember he played a one-shot with my best friend and another friend I had at the moment, and I asked him, I was like, "Hey, you want to do a full game?" He's like, "Oh, absolutely not." He just left.
Yeah, some people like it, but just for short stints, and that's cool too. I mean, I prefer the long-term storytelling, so I do prefer campaigns.
And I tell you, it was so hard to find a long-term game that is at night that matches with the schedule.
Yeah, that was kind of the problem I was having. So I was like, I guess I'll start my own because I only really have the night time to work or play, I guess. And it's just, it's hard because, a lot of them would either be during the day because they were playing at their nighttime, or they wanted to do it on the weekend. And I usually try to reserve the weekend for family time.
I don't know what it is. Why can D&D players other than me just like play on the weekends? I don't know. I was so shocked when I saw how many games were just like, yeah, we just have the weekend open, sir.
All the time. I'm like, I can maybe give you 2 hours on a Sunday. Okay, Saturday is almost always out. So.
I can barely get a Saturday off. Like, I have to request it weeks in advance.
Yeah.
I'm only getting this. Hold on. 28. Yeah, I'm getting the 29th off because I had to convince my manager because it's my birthday weekend and me and my boyfriend are going to the historic part of town.
And did you have to
I literally had to beg this man.
Oh,
I said, "Sir, please, please."
It's a birthday present.
No, and literally he was, yeah, pretty much. And literally he was just like, "Listen, dog, I 100% understand it. We have like 5 people who called out." I said,
No.
"I will give you my soul right now if you give me this day off." But luckily, we were able to find someone to cover for me, so they just put it in for me.
I was gonna say, did you technically just become a warlock? I think you might have if you sold your soul for that.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind. My manager's actually really nice.
Okay, cool patron to have then. Yeah, so I'm the same way, and sometimes I'm out of town on the weekends or whatever, and then it makes it a little more chaotic to schedule games, but I'm always in town on Monday night, so.
Actually, speaking of, I might get Mondays off from now on, depending on if a certain thing goes well. So that might, so the stars may align.
Best of luck for that. That's even better. So.
Hopefully. Listen, I need the whole day to emotionally prepare for D&D sometimes.
Well, sometimes I wish I had that too, because there's times, especially because normally this is the time that my brother and I record our podcast. And sometimes, with the young child and working all day, I'll get to like 9 o'clock and I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. And then, you put on the happy face and you do your stream or whatever. But yeah, having the day off would be great. I could just have every Monday and that would be bad for you. Because if I had every Monday, all I would do is just plot all day. Now, I am not, at least I try not to be an adversarial DM. But if you give me a whole day of world building and before the game, something's bound to go wrong. Okay, it's just.
I need you to understand, buddy, bestie. I'm emotionally attached to my characters. I want you to fuck him up.
I can do that.
I love my characters. I would hate, like, if Izzy died, I would be sad because I've never, like, had a character die before. I would get over it. I would still be sad, though. Emotionally scar him as much as you want within reason.
Okay, I can do it. I am... Okay, again, I'm not adversarial. I'm not one of those DMs out to kill your character. But I have killed characters before. I actually just had a death, not in one of my actually, it was like we had to take a hiatus, so we're on hiatus now, and it was the last time we got to play.
Ugh.
But they had one failed death save, and they rolled a natural 1, and I said, okay, if anyone has inspiration, I will let you give it to them, and they can roll again.
Oh no!
I was like,
I see where this is going.
Another natural 1, and
God damn it! I knew it.
I can't help you. Like, I've done what I could. I gave you a reroll. I let you burn your inspiration, even though that's not technically how it works. But at this point, because at some point, the dice do get to make decisions, because otherwise you're not playing a game anymore. You're just making stuff up, which is fun too. But
yeah,
at that point, I was like, I can't spin this for you, man. I just can't do it. Like, I don't know what to do for you here.
I'm not a first-time DM. I'm not a first-time DM by any means. Like, I used to DM one-shots all the time. This is my first, like, main game I'm doing. I think I actually sent you the map of my world that we're playing in next.
I don't remember, but send it again if you did, because I don't remember seeing it.
But after learning what I have as a DM now I'm very happy to carry those skills over. And I learned one thing I'm really bad at is world building with opened ends, and the only reason that it worked for this party is because a large majority of them are new. Yeah. But keep in mind, I'm also a very open DM, so if you're just like, hey, can I set this into the world's lore? Yeah, sure. But one thing I specialize in, it's not killing characters or like making you fear for your life in a fight. I am stellar at plot twist.
Yeah,
and the only reason. Yeah, then the only reason I'm good at plot twist is because I make up stuff on the spot all the time. Like, and the thing about it is, I used to not want to do that as a DM, but now I'm realizing how often DMs just make stuff up on the spot, despite their notes.
And the best DMs make you think that it was planned all along. And that's why,
exactly.
If you watch like Critical Role, that's why I love Matt Mercer, because he's just making stuff up left and right, and you're like, but you couldn't tell. And I'm not that good. but I try my best to make things seem planned, even when I'm just like, "Woo, here we go."
So my DMing style is largely based off of Brendan Lee Mulligan,
Okay.
only because I love Critical Role down. I cannot listen to a 4-hour episode. I don't have enough time in the day. It is so difficult.
It's hard.
Shout out to all those critters. Shout out to all the critters who are like consistent, because I could barely get through the second campaign. Like, I know everything that happened in the second campaign only because I watched a shit ton of recaps, and then I watched like the last 5 episodes.
I do stay caught up. I started with campaign 2, but I have to listen to it while I work, or I couldn't stay caught up. And sometimes it gets hard to multitask. Yeah, it gets hard. But
I can't listen to things like while I'm actively doing something.
So I have to rewind a lot.
Listen to it, like, yeah, so I can only listen. I could only listen to it while I was taking the bus to work. Now, luckily, my job was like an hour away before. I got a job that's much closer and pays more.
Nice.
Shout out to those jobs. But yeah, I base a lot of my DMing on Brendan Lee Mulligan only because his DMing style is very palpable, and he talks shit about capitalism a lot in his games, which is what I aspire to. Like, I remember my boyfriend was talking to me. So the main villain of my current campaign, he's an ivory dragon who used to be a god, but got jealous because he basically felt he should be worshipped more. Okay. He basically created nightmares as a gift to humanity, but they didn't want that, obviously.
A gift, yeah.
And basically, my boyfriend, they basically talked to one of his main generals. There are 4. He talked to one of their main generals about how you shouldn't be doing this, and he gave his backstory. Basically, he's a disgraced scientist who basically was thrown away because the work he was doing was too dangerous. Oh. And that's when he realized how messed up the world was, when everything was taken away from him. And my brother, god damn it, no, my boyfriend, edit that out.
No edits.
And my boyfriend was literally just like, God, I hate this guy. I was like, well, why do you hate him? He's like, because he's like every white guy who something bad happens to, and all of a sudden that's when he realizes that things are bad when we've been telling him things aren't. And I was just like, I want you to know that's literally the archetype I based him off of. He's like, what? He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, have you done this often? I was like, their leader's an ivory dragon who got jealous and wants to destroy the world for everyone else. I was just like, literally, all of the villains are just an allegory for horrible versions of white people. No offense.
We're the worst. What are you talking about? As a whole, we're not very good.
But, sorry, I'm getting off track. But basically, a plot twist I really enjoyed doing was, my friend Bear, his character Atak is, he's basically from another campaign, so we flavored it as he's from another world, and he was brought to this one for whatever reason. But he's actually, plot twist, he's actually from another world.
Oh, wow.
But he's from another world called Draconia.
Oh.
And basically he had a friend there named Scarlet, who was his best friend. They did everything together. She was basically his protector because he was the son of basically one of the main kings of the realm. Speaking of, this was my boyfriend messaging me. But basically, something happened where the world ended up destroyed. No spoilers, but we found out recently that he may have been the cause of it.
Oh.
But basically, a twist that I really like that was a complete last-minute decision was when my character, my friend Antonia, not my friend Evie, who plays Antonia, she's basically the human MacGuffin in this party.
Okay.
Because she basically has a weird symbol on her that she basically said, I don't know what this means. Do whatever you want with it. I said, well, you're a MacGuffin now.
Yep.
But
I've got not the exact same thing, but one of the characters has given me something like, hey, here's this. Do what you want with it. I'm like, I love it.
Me. Obviously me. But basically, there's this organization who's basically trying to take her. Because they want her power. And basically, one of the people have her brother. That she found out recently that her brother is actually the leader of this organization. But she found out while talking to him that he's under a spell. She immediately realized because she was just like, he's not talking how I described So in her head, she was like, he's not talking how I described him to you. So either you're doing a really bad accent or something is up. And one thing about me is that I am really good at doing voices.
That's
so
good.
she's
I'm
like,
not.
something is fucking up. So I just need you to know, don't expect anything with Izzy. Izzy talks like me, but a bit quieter. That is it, because I'm tired from my job.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But
I was telling Psychic I've got like 3 voices. It's this a little bit lower, this a little bit higher, and I guess there's 4 because I do American Southern. So.
A1, honestly. But she was just like, something's off. But when she tried to talk to him more, that's when this person who's been messing with her, who basically acts as her brother's second in command, comes to take him because they realize she knows something is wrong. One thing about my villains is that they're incredibly smart, so my players always have to be crafty if they want to catch them. Which is why they're always good at beating up my villains, because they know their weaknesses. They already know if I have a villain who's good at one thing, they are shit at something else because I need to be able to give you an out just in case things go wrong. For example, one of the generals that they're dealing with, she is a powerful sorceress. She has so many sorcery points. She uses them like they're no one's business, and she has a high con. She is horrible at strength checks.
Oh yeah.
And
that makes sense.
So guess what the other sorcerer in my party does every time? Strength check.
Yep, stacks it against strength checks. That's a good idea.
Yeah, but basically, the second in command, he was going to take her brother away. She immediately cast a spell to hold her brother in place so he could not move. And she says, "I'm going to run to him," because I said, "Okay, I'm gonna let that be your free action because this would technically be a surprise round."
Okay.
And she said, "Okay." And she says, she's dealt with this person before. They have an ungodly amount of counter spells, so much to the point where people were just like, I feel like you don't want us to fight them. And she was just like, I know he has counter spells, and I know he's good at avoiding spells. So I'm just going to run up and take off his hood so I can see who he is. And Amelia's like, oh no, because I don't know I had no idea who this person was yet. I did not know if I wanted it to be someone they have met already, or if I wanted it to just be a random NPC person they don't recognize. But in that moment, I was just like, this is too good of a moment for it to just be a random. So I had to rack my brain through all the NPCs to think who it is.
That's when you start vamping with like, and then you reach for the hood, and then you slowly start pulling the hood back, and the whole time you're like, who is this? I don't know. Oh my god, who is this patient?
Yeah. But as I was thinking about it, I realized there's one NPC who would cause the most emotional damage to someone in the party. And it's someone who they saw in a flashback. Because the character, who's from another world, he saw Scarlet quite literally cowering away from him as the last memory he remembers from that world. So he took off the mask. So she took off the mask, and I immediately say, you assumed it was a person because they were wearing, it was a humanoid figure because they were wearing a glamour. But as you take it off, you realize their form is more womanly. You realize her voice is higher pitched, and she's covered in red scales. And that's when you just hear Bear just say, "God damn it!" like out loud.
I love those moments, though. I love those moments.
Yeah, it's so. And from that, I had to basically I changed originally what the plan for that organization was. I had to explain why is she here and why is she evil because I knew they would ask. And basically, I was just like, okay, what does she want? What would she possibly want? She would want to go back to her home that was destroyed.
Okay.
How would she do that? And I realized a big thing I set up in my game a lot is how you need to sacrifice people to have powerful spells happen. What could you reasonably sacrifice with enough worth to get a world back? Another world. So basically, skipping all of the plot points of my campaign because it would take forever. She has a way to get her world back by destroying this one, but she needs to take very specific steps, and that is her goal. Okay. And I had to come up with all of that because of that split decision to, instead of make things easier for me, make things more interesting for my players.
Yeah, exactly. My players in one of my campaigns did something that it caused a whole rewrite. And actually, I was running a module. I was running something out of the book, and it was for some new players. It was very straightforward. It was Horde of the Dragon Queen, as straightforward as you can get. But what they did was there was this part where they were supposed to infiltrate this camp and steal something because these people had a adult blue dragon on their side, right? And they knew that. But what they did through some very, very great rolls and some good role playing, they actually convinced the leader of the nearby town, the king, to send an army and march against this person. It did not go well because the dragon had already ransacked the kingdom, and then now he just kind of went through and annihilated what was left of this army. So
oh no,
it became, instead of them sneaking in, getting something, being the heroes, they became the ones that had got an entire town destroyed, an entire kingdom destroyed. And the king, who was a throwaway NPC, then became a main antagonist of the campaign because he's like, I trusted you, you caused me to do this. And then he made one of them was a warlock, and had their patron had a natural enemy. Guess who became a warlock of that other patron? Because it made sense to tie in their backstory too. And it was like, well, okay. I literally got to chapter 2 and was like, well, module's done, and had to rewrite my whole campaign from there. So went off the rails. But
well, I guess this is a campaign now.
Yeah, but it was the best way that could have gone. So much more interesting than it would have been if we just stuck to the module.
My favorite decision that my party, sorry, I have hiccups, that my party has made that really sent me for a loop was actually from the nicest member of the party, and the one who was the most sensible, where she literally was just like, wait a minute, we've been doing these missions for like literal rulers. Does that mean they owe us boons? And I was just like, well, I wouldn't say they owe you boons. If they ask you to do a job and you did it for a pay, they wouldn't necessarily owe you. But I said, well, what were you thinking? She said, we're literally looking for a lost item. What's stopping us from just asking them to send someone else to find it for us? And I said, I guess nothing. I guess you just gotta ask them.
Yep.
And she's like, yeah. So we're on personal terms with this ruler of a nation. So I'm just gonna send him a message and be like, hey, if we trade a service for you, will you look for this ultra rare relic and tell us what you find with your infinite resources?
Yep. Natural 20 on the persuasion check, and you're like, well,
immediately, yeah, easy. Of course.
That was. Okay, so then you gotta play around with that, but that's what makes D&D fun and different from reading a book. Is keeps you on your toes, and it's the collaborative storytelling. That's what I love. Is because what I've planned as DM never survives contact with the players, because once you guys start making decisions and making choices, things change. So that's why I've got the various plot points, the things that are going on in the world that will affect. But then how do your actions affect those things that are going on, instead of this happens and this happens and this happens, because it's not worth doing, because I'm going to end up throwing all that away if I do that. So
immediately. Yeah. I will ask, how do you feel about, because I always ask DMs this because I love doing this in my games. How do you feel about devil's bargains in D&D games?
I've had that happen in more than one of my. I love devils. I love demons. I for some reason love working with those. I had one.
Well, I bet
that actually made a deal with a devil and then noped out of the party. Like they made the deal, then left and said, "Hey, I want to play a different character now," and then gave me their NPC to use their old PC to use as antagonist going forward. And I was like, "Let's do it." So,
that sounds epic, but I meant more like in a metaphorical sense, like characters making deals with you to let things happen.
I try to play it. I try to be fair. I'm not easily bribed because I don't want to like show favoritism because someone's bribing me.
I do it. The thing about it is, my players know me. They know that I will do it, but the price will vary depending on the scene.
Yeah, okay.
If it's a super emotional scene where you and the party will get a lot of payoff. Well, I'll say if you and the party will get a lot of emotional payoff for it, I make the price higher.
Sure.
Like, I had one character I played with in a one-shot where basically the cave was collapsing, and they were a wizard, and they looked at me and they said, DM, if I want to cast a time stop spell, what would I have to do for that? I was like, do you have that high of a slot? They're like, I'm level 5. No. And I said, and I literally, I said, well, that's very, if you don't have the spells, there's not much I can do about you. And he immediately said, he's like, if I had a powerful enough component, would you let me do it? I said, well, that would depend on the component. He was like, if I give my arm, would you let me have it? I said, and I had to look at him. I said, Bestie, are you sure about this? And he says, no, I want to give up my arm to make sure the rest of the party at least gets out. I said, okay, I'll give it to you. You give up your arm, and you have to make a percentile check to see if you manage to get out.
Okay.
And he immediately said, deal. And I like stuff like that because I like playing loosely with the rules of D&D. God fucking damn it, these hiccups. I like playing loosely with the rules of D&D a lot for stuff like that. I know it's not everyone's tea because a lot of DMs will just just letting the party shit themselves, which I think is perfectly
That's
fair.
Fun too.
I'm gonna be 100%.
I think it's a case by case basis. Typically, I do tend to play it a little closer to the rules, and I do like seeing what the party can come up with the resources they have available to them too. So I do like seeing what they can do. So typically, I don't do stuff like that, but you never know. It's always worth a.
I need you to understand. There is nothing that I will not give up to let the rest of the party go forward. So I just lead you to know if I say, "Hey DM, if Izzy stays back or sacrifices his life, can everyone else get away?" I need you to not be surprised.
So and that's a little different. So that I think is much more easy to work with in the narrative than explaining like how you cast a level 9 like time stop spell. But it's something like that. That is much more something that I think would be okay. Yeah, how do we do this? So this will be your moment. This will be your heroic sacrifice. What does it look like? And that's a good narrative moment. That is totally something I would do. Absolutely. I have designed characters in my head that I'm like, I want their moment to be a heroic sacrifice to save the party. That's what I want for this character.
Unfortunately, I
made them to die. So
yeah, I remember talking. I really liked the questions you sent because you're like, okay, well, what is this character's like main mantras or morals? And I remember the first thing I put for Izzy was freedom.
Yep.
He wants to be free to do to become the whatever type of wizard he wants to be. So I think about a moment like that with Izzy. It would have to be some shitty circumstances, and he would have to have a lot of love for the party for him to give up his freedom or like life for these people. Damn it! I was trying to make sure it wasn't audible.
It's fine. It's fine. And it'll be that much more impactful if that ever does come to pass, too. So.
Yeah, but I'm trying to stray away from the found family trope, but I feel like I'm not going to have much of a choice.
You kind of have to with D&D. You throw a bunch of random people together, you end up found family. There's like no way around it unless everybody just hates each other. You know, I mean,
actually, I would love to play a game where everyone hates each other.
And they're just bound together. Maybe you guys will. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe everybody's just bound by something that's keeping them together for some other reason. It would be interesting to play one where everybody hates each other, they don't trust each other, and you're just like a mercenary band. You can't get away from each other for some reason. But I don't think where this is going, but who knows? My plans will not survive contact with you all. That's all I know. Yeah. So there's only so much I can do. Anyway, I'm loving talking to you. I think we're kind of running up on time, though, so we might need to wrap this up. It's been great. Thank you for agreeing to do this little interview, and thank you even more for agreeing to play in this game. I cannot wait. Are you on socials?
I need you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
First, I need you to edit out a lot of this interview, but I do not.
I'll be honest with you. There's really, as from someone who's just been listening to you, there's really not anything you need to worry about being edited. The hiccups, I can't really edit around.
Damn.
You only had like one little flub, and it was kind of funny, so it was fun. It's fine.
But as for socials, I think it's a person-to-person type thing. I'm a very private with my second life, so if it comes up and people want to follow us, sure, I will give them then. But I think for now, I will just be a face on this thing.
Perfect. And that's fine. That's why I'm asking if you have it, if anybody wants to follow you. If you don't want to be followed, that's even better too. So don't look for them. Do not look for them. But
all my accounts are quite literally private. Yeah, so yeah. It's fine.
And that works for a lot of people I know too. And there's been times where I'm like, oh God, I wish I was a private account. But I'm not, so. Anyway, we will be streaming Kupo Quest Mondays at 9:30 Eastern starting on November 7th. So that's about 2 weeks from the time of this recording. I'm very excited. I cannot wait. I'm so glad you agreed to talk to me here for this hour. It's been fun just kind of getting to know you a little bit better and talking some DM stuff. So I'm really looking forward to it. I cannot wait to see what you and your character do once we get to playing. So
I'm going to watch this back. If my skin is not flawless, I'm unfortunately going to have to sue.
Okay. I'm not worth much, so keep your expectations low.
I just walk into your house and just take a singular die.
No, take anything but the die. They're all so precious, especially if you take one of those big ones. I thought I had one around here. Anyway, again, thanks for talking. I will see you in 2 weeks for our premiere episode.